Here we go. This is a podcast. You can't hear the music, Giles, because of technical issues.
Yeah, I cannot hear the music.
But I'll tell you, I'm busting out a jam. This is a fucking jam today. Everyone's like losing their shit. They're like, man, that guy's wailing on that tiny little keyboard. He's going crazy.
I have to believe it.
Crazy. Giles, don't listen back. That magic is only for the listeners. Welcome to Coprolalia. Unfiltered, unedited, underdeveloped. That's our new tagline, you fucks. This is a stupid bullshit.
And also, we insult our listeners. That's a new thing.
This is I've called them fucks before. This is a stupid podcast that we record weekly where we just talk random bullshit. We're artists, and this is a podcast, both in the loosest sense of the words. That's all I've got for you. This has been Coprolalia. I hope you tune in next week for another intro.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
We've already recorded this intro once today, but let me tell you, technology, it's a curse.
But we decided
it's not worth it.
Yeah, first of all, technology really sucks.
Yeah.
And it's getting worse.
Yeah.
It's only getting worse.
If I could record this podcast by etching it into hot wax cylinders, I would. But unfortunately, I just don't have the time. I'm a busy boy.
Imagine how many records we'd have by now if that's how podcasting worked. We'd have so many records, like 40 records. 45.
Are you saying we'd... Wait. Yeah. Yes, we would have 45. And that's a record. What are we here for, Giles? what are we talking about?
We're here to know more about ourselves, I believe.
Yes, we are. Yes. That's been my recent development over especially the last 6 months. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what we're talking about.
Well, let's not simplify and dull ourselves down, because really we are the essence of our lives.
Our perception is our existence, is the universe. Perception is everything.
Yeah.
Perception is 9/10 of the law.
And let's not forget about nothing, though. Which sounds kooky, but I think nothing really does exist as a thing to be experienced.
Further explain yourself.
So nothing is the alternative to everything.
Yeah.
And we're either breaking down into nothing, or we're sort of gathering into something. So which process would you like to be a part of?
To gather up or to become nothing. Is that the two options there?
Yeah, those are the two options you have.
I'm a gatherer. I'm a hunter-gatherer. As far yeah, I'll gather up knowledge.
Hunting for beats and gathering rhymes.
Hunting truth birds and spearing.
Two of them with one stone.
Yeah, man. If there's one thing that we're really good at is improv comedy and thinking on our feet. Come up with bits on the fly. That's a bird.
Yeah,
maybe that's a bird pun.
Like the wings and the legs. And the lenticular eyes. I don't know if that's what flies have.
If not having a bit's a good bit, then this is a good bit.
Alright, so one of the topics we wanted to discuss today is what we think about comedy.
Yeah, and entertainment.
And entertainment.
Two mutually exclusive concepts.
I find them... Yeah.
No overlap.
There's like this tiny little overlap, and that's who Dane Cook is.
Dane Cook.
That's who.
I don't think
that's
Dane Cook
who,
is either comedy or entertainment.
No, he's both. But in that little tiny sliver. No, see, I think comedy is a tool.
Mm.
There's a quote by Oscar Wilde that I really like,
Yeah.
and I have absolutely no fear of sounding pretentious right now.
That's a pretty surefire way of doing so. Quoting Oscar Wilde or ancient Chinese proverbs. Yeah, hipster fuck.
If you
Did
want
you
to tell
read
the truth,
Oscar Wilde? You twat.
Yeah, I've read a
Fucking-
little bit of Oscar Wilde.
You fucking reading? Go ahead and... yeah, go.
You're one of them readers.
If I
tell
had
us a story.
if I had a gun cock sound, I would play it. I don't.
Well, that's the kind of thing we can get ready for next time.
Yeah, I won't. For all
Anyway,
the listeners, like,
quote.
comment, and subscribe. That was the point. That was the thing I was going to put at the intro of this episode, this podcast. Good podcast. Oscar Wilde said.
Yeah, he said, if you want to tell the truth, make them laugh or they'll kill you.
I like that. It's a good quote. Good quote.
And I personally have just always wanted to be able to tell the truth, or at least what I honestly wanted to say. And I just subscribed to that, I guess.
Did you hit the bell?
I hit the little bell notification so that I always get little emails every time.
I had a really good. Sidebar, but I have a really good. Is it a sidebar? Am I using that right? Is that like,
That's a legal term, and I guess we are on trial right now. So go ahead. We're actually we're in a courtroom. I've just decided that.
Yeah, that's where.
We're actually trying to defend ourselves against a swathe.
Yeah.
Of
I'm gonna search out
somebody's
sidebar definition. If it pleases the
swathe of
court, if
somebody's.
it pleases the court, can you define sidebar? Sure. Newspaper. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So it's a short article in a newspaper or magazine placed alongside a main article and containing additional or explanatory material. So sidebar. I forgot what I was going to say is this sidebar, so don't worry about it. Oscar Wilde said something about being truthful. Yeah. Sorry,
and I've found
I've got weird energy today, derailing all your conversations.
That's all right. I've found that people, it is like if the truth can actually be this really disgusting spoonful of medicine that they don't want to drink.
Yeah.
And making someone laugh is actually a good way of shoving the spoon down their throat while they're on the way.
Yeah. Yeah, that is it's one of those things where you sound really pretentious when you say it, especially if you work an Oscar Wilde quote into it. But when you say people like, yeah, man, people just don't want to hear the truth, man. Especially if you say "man" at the end, you sound like a stereotypical crazy person from like from an old movie. But or a hippie. You sound like a hippie. You sound like a stereotypical hippie. Like, man, people don't want to hear the truth. They're all fucking sheeple, my boys.
I'm gonna end up a hippie, but I'm in like the mid phase.
Yeah. You're in that sweet zone where it's 90% weed.
Yeah, where it's techno. I'm like techno based.
Yeah. You're like a neon hippie at the moment.
A tech hippie.
Yeah.
A tech hippie.
Anyway. But yeah, 100% true. And it's one of those things that sounds weird to say, and people will kind of railroad you for it. But keep using that term. I don't even know if it's right.
Please keep using it.
We're gonna have to have a book come out at some point of all the terms we've been using and what they actually mean in sex terminology, just like that.
It sounds like they're gonna run a train on me or something like that.
That's
like,
what I understand it as. Like, yeah, you're.
No, well, the term "running a train" means to like line up and like one after the other.
Oh, okay.
Have intercourse.
I swear I've heard it as like you're running someone over, but that doesn't even make sense.
You can say like, so yeah, some people are going to tie you to the tracks.
Oh, okay. So hang on. it might be a thing. This is not a podcast where we look up definitions of the terms I'm using. I'm trying to make points here. We're trying to have a discussion, but I keep getting distracted.
This is good. You're expanding your vocabulary.
Force a resolution quickly.
Really?
Coerce someone into doing something they wouldn't otherwise do. He wanted to railroad Congress. I think I am using it in the way that I mean, as in like you're just forcing.
I'm perverting it.
You're forcing a resolution, or you're forcing a way of looking at a thing. You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, what was next one? What were we talking about? Oh yeah. Fuck me. This is chaos of a conversation so far.
We're talking about what comedy and entertainment means to us.
Yeah. Yes.
So if you hear what I'm saying and it sounds like there's no truth to it, there's quite a possibility I'm just having a bit of fun.
Yeah.
Or you just completely disagree with me. And alternatively, if you do feel like there's a bit of truth to it, but you don't think that's funny, it's probably a failed joke.
Yeah.
And even if it sounds like a bit of a cop-out...
Coprolalia.
Cop-out lalia. If you agree with what I say, please take it away with you. But if you disagree, just move on as quick as possible.
Or comment angrily below.
Or or comment angrily, but don't assume I'll actually defend what I'm saying. Like a failed joke is just a failed joke sometimes.
Yeah.
I've definitely copped it for not making someone laugh and saying something that was potentially an insecurity of theirs.
Yeah. This is... I'm not actually sure where I stand on this, and I think we actually may disagree in some parts on these topics, which is good, because we should be disagreeing, because otherwise this is just a one-sided conversation where we're just talking back and forth, spewing. It's like baby birds regurgitating the same shit back into each other's mouths. That doesn't make sense. That's not a good analogy.
And they totally don't do that. Like,
no.
A mother bird will regurgitate into a baby's mouth, but the babies don't just then spit it all over each other.
We're two mother birds puking into each other's mouths and expecting for one of us to eat it.
Yeah. One of us is the mum and the other is the dad, and we've both... I'm regurgitating into your mouth so you can feed the kids.
Are we just one big mother bird? The two of us are one bird regurgitating our bullshit into the listeners, who are the baby birds in this scenario.
Oh, okay.
And we're not. Right. But their mouths are full of shit, so they can't now talk back to us. Is that the analogy?
Well, yeah, and if they want to get the shit out of their mouths so that they can swallow our regurgitated shit, then they need to write in the comments section. Before I lose it,
Go.
This is what I think the thumbnail should be.
Yeah,
we're a two-headed mother bird.
Yeah.
And we're on a podium in a courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole lot of little baby birds in the jury.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I got.
That's great. I like it. Baby birds in the jury. Oh, that sounds like a good that sounds like a blues album. Baby birds in the jury. I don't know what that means. That sounds like a blues band. Baby bird in the jury.
Oh yeah, like it's like someone who really likes Charlie Parker will call themselves Baby Bird, and the backup band could be called The Jury.
Yeah. Oh,
that's great.
Judge and the Jury. That's got to be a fucking band. If that doesn't exist, I'm taking it. And I just said that we're not editing this podcast, but baby, you better believe I'm editing this because that's too good to just give out. You're
actually going to censor it?
No, I'm not.
It's such a good idea.
It's Judge and Jury, there is Judge and Jury and Judge and the Jury. Okay, anyway, cool.
They're both bands.
Yeah, so not censored, but they're not big, so fucking feel free to take it. What are we talking about? Yeah.
What
So.
And entertainment mean to us.
So, I've been watching a lot more comedy over the last year. And there's a lot of comedians out there who will basically argue the point that it's just a joke, and I agree with you that it can seem like a cop-out, though I don't know if you meant it like that in terms of you actually agree with that. But I'm kind of torn between those two ideas. Between the idea that yes, especially comedians should be allowed to just spew shit, basically in the pursuit of humor. It's kind of like going to see a cool a jam band, or allow artists total freedom to express themselves. Like, I like exploration. I like just totally unfiltered content. And I think that's why people like vlogs and YouTube and podcasts as well, for those reasons, because they got you so used to. I'm jumping around really heavily in this fucking conversation.
That's
But
right.
here we
Go for
go. They got so used to edited and composed content on TV and radio and stuff like that. And then when YouTube came along, and when the internet in general came along, people had access to unfiltered, more human content, where people were just letting it out. They were just releasing this stuff to see what kind of came out. And you have a great analogy for that, which you might throw in a bit, or now, later. Doesn't matter, whatever.
What is the analogy?
Spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Reading.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Just leave it at that.
I don't even know if someone told this to me or whether I made it up in my head, but apparently you can know whether spaghetti's cooked or not by throwing it against a wall and seeing if it sticks.
Uh-huh.
And if it sticks, it's well cooked, and if it, yeah.
100% someone fucked with you, because that's
people used to fuck with me all the time.
Yeah.
I've got some stories.
We very clearly dissected that people like to fuck with me as well, apparently, in our previous episode about my school life, that I didn't like to fight back, and so people like to fuck with me.
Yeah, but that's just because people used to fuck with me, so I like... Yeah, it's like rules of the schoolyard kind of crap.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, so...
One thing, in primary school, because people used to consider me incredibly gullible, and just would make fun of me for being gullible. Yeah, but it's 100%. Just really, it's really just because I trusted my friends. I thought I could.
Yeah.
And it was... They would tell me like lies about like Pokemon. Like I would tell them like, yeah, I've been playing Pokemon Silver, and they said, oh, have you heard about these secret Pokemon? And I'd be like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
And they'd say things like, what you got to do is you got to walk around a sign in the middle of the starting town. Just walk around that sign like 100 times, and it has to be exactly. It has to be exactly 100 times, and then
They played you, boy.
And then go to this piece of grass. And if you encounter a Pokemon before you get to that piece of grass, you have to go do it again. And yeah, I reckon I only tried it a couple times.
Yeah,
but it was enough that like I became the joke for believing it. Yeah, just things like that.
I think at that point people are just testing the waters. I think kids are just learning what is possible, because that's like their first social interactions in a way. Like when they're younger, they're just testing the physical limitations of reality. Like they're just seeing what happens when they throw a cup off a chair, or they're seeing like what happens if I just run. Let's see what happens when I run.
Kids are like reality testers.
Yeah, and then when they get into school, they're like, all right, let's see what are the boundaries on the social limitations? Like what can I fuck with? What can I do? And then they just test the waters, and if they learn from people like us, because we learnt that people tell the truth. I don't know where we learnt that, but we learned that people tell the truth. And then somebody fucked with us and told us a lie. They just learnt the lesson that, hey, I can fuck with people and I can get what I want because I can lie to people. They're probably going to be more shit later on in life.
And they don't understand. It's only when they experience the backlash that they finally decide it's not a good idea. You can really see a child as an amoral thing. They don't really care if what they're doing, like their main concern is whether they're okay with what's happening. And if they are okay with it, and in most cases they won't have a reason to feel not okay about it if it's just someone else who's getting the shit. And in fact, I think our serotonin is even like our serotonin system is actually based on status a lot of the time, and if we're dominating someone else, like exerting power and getting someone to submit, we actually feel better. And so that's one of the really fucked up things about being a kid, and
amongst many other things,
realizing status is a thing, and then playing games to make sure that everyone submits to you. It's I know kids who are all about that.
What a nightmare time period. I fucking hated every second of being a child. Like,
me too.
I can look back and think like, I was creative at times and I did some cool stuff. There's a few memories in there that seem okay, but just generally it was just like everything's confusing and I'm not grown yet. Like physically my body is in weird shapes and I can't reach heights. Physically can't reach heights. There's a bunch of bullshit. That's a huge disadvantage in the physical world. And then you're also hormonal and everything. Nightmare. If you can avoid it, I recommend it. Just try and skip that part of your life. I recommend all kids do drugs and just kind of phase out until they're 18, and then it's all
I
sweet
think
from there.
That's exactly what needs to change in our society, is that kids should be allowed to do drugs. Just like they should be able to own guns. Like it just makes sense. If Disney is listening to this, and within the next 10 years I work for Disney, and they hear me saying that I think kids should have guns, well, fuck you guys. I don't want to work for you anyway.
Okay. Do I want to go into it? I think so. Oh my god! I feel like this episode, all this chaos is going to culminate. Culminate? Is that the right word?
Yep.
Culminate
just means come together.
It's all going to come together at the end. I feel we're hitting on lots of little parts of one puzzle, and it's going to come together at the end. But it's going to be a fucking nightmare getting there. But stay in there, hit that bell, comment like blah blah blah.
Yeah, you have to hit the bell several times, or else it just doesn't work at all.
Fucking ding-a-ling, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Fuck, God, I'm wired in a way. Like I'm going off so many things you're saying, but I can't remember what I was going to say, which is really frustrating.
Okay, Disney. About Disney.
Yes, hold on to that. This is why I've got a pen and
Google.
paper. Because who got fired? James Gunn, is that his name?
Yeah.
James Gunn. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that in a second. First of all, though, back to children. Back to children.
I do want to talk about James Gunn. That'd be a good topic.
Yeah. You just got a ton louder in your microphone.
Yeah, it's because I pulled my microphone closer to my mouth.
That's good. Do it.
Nah, I'm putting it back.
Yeah, sweet. Do that. So just as kids are just testing reality, I think that's my that's how I like. It's not how I like all comedy. I do like really well-constructed comedy. And also this form, I don't even know if... I don't want to just class this as comedy, because this isn't just a funny podcast, and most of the time I don't think it is, in terms of, like, there's no real jokes. Maybe just the concept is kind of humorous in nature. Like, there's an absurdity to the structure of this podcast.
Yeah.
And to the comedy that we make in general, through whatever mediums we choose at the time.
I think one of the funniest jokes that's ever even come up, and that must have been in between hours of no jokes.
Yeah.
Was the part where we said that that the term "roll 'em up" comes from when people from Robin Hood's time, when people would ride past bandits and have to roll up their windows on their horse. That was such a dumb moment, but it was perfect.
Well, that's perfect, because that's just
roll
absurd.
Roll them up.
Just absurd. And I like that. I like just explorative type of content, not just in comedy, but also in music and art as well. Just people who just test the waters and just kind of let whatever come out, whatever flows, just go and see what happens, because that's the most exciting time. Because most artists and most creative people are just looking for something. They don't know what they're looking for. Like, some people get to the point when they picture something in their head and think, yes, that's it, I'm going to do that, and they do it exactly how they see it in their head. But that's such a small percentage of people who are actual creatives. For the most part, it's people like exploring ideas, and then they don't know where it's going to go. And so that's the part I'm most interested in, is that just fucking around, seeing what you're going to come up with, and you don't know, and it might not even be You're just kind of like the device that pushed it in that direction, but you're just so
a very powerful antenna for something to flow into. We're the antenna and the tool and the canvas and like
and the paintbrush.
We're the antenna and the paintbrush.
Yeah,
that's what we are. Yeah,
and God, and man, and
yes,
and the angels and the devils and the earth.
Yeah, it's incredible, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, read into it, babies.
All right, let's refine where we're going with this though.
Yeah. So, as you said with the spaghetti thing, the more common phrase which you're thinking of is throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And the unfortunate thing with that, though, however, especially because, and this is where we're shooting ourselves in the foot to a degree, and a lot of other, I don't want to put myself in with other comedians because, again, I'm not making like jokes in terms of, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to claim I'm a comedian. What I'm saying, though, is touching on heavier topics, which I like talking about shit that I don't understand, that I don't know what I'm talking about, heavy political concepts or social concepts or just theoretical blah, 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 like just universal ideas. However, I then will say some shit that I don't necessarily agree with, or I'll say some shit that just doesn't make any sense, it's just illogical, and then
or more likely you'll think something that's just like completely inappropriate. Like that happens to me all the time. I like, and I won't even say them because they're just like, it's just like bringing up retarded shit for no reason. But
even there,
yeah. Whoops.
Let's well, there you go. So, but this actually, that's another good point though. Is like when that kind of shit slips out, it doesn't mean you were evil spirited. It's just good now for us to edit that. Not edit. I'm not going to edit the podcast. That's our our new tagline.
Yeah, leave it in. I don't mind.
If something like that comes up, I just want to be more on the ball. To be able to say like, oh, you know what, that wasn't good. That was not cool. It's not like it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm gonna replace retarded, and I'm saying it for a purpose rather than just derogatory nature.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say squicky.
I don't know what that means.
It's a weird word. You should search it up.
Gonna.
And then tell the listeners what it means.
How do you spell it?
Squicky. It's like quick, but with an S in front of it, and then a Y at the end.
Alrighty. I was just getting squeaky. No, squeaky. All right. Engendering a feeling of disgust, distaste, nausea, or revulsion, but without judgment regarding the righteousness or wrongness of the stimulus.
It's a pretty nice word, isn't it?
That's a great word.
It's an awful word to say and to listen to, but its meaning is quite good.
That's what is it called when a word sounds like what it means? Because that does exactly what it means.
Onomatopoeic.
Okay. That. Well, it doesn't, because it doesn't really mean, or it's not right or wrong. It doesn't mean anything. But
it's a squicky word. Yeah, it's a squicky word.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So our mind can think squicky stuff.
Yeah.
And it's not right or wrong because it's just a thought.
Yeah.
And it can still not be right or wrong if it's an art piece too. People don't get that. People think the intention is what someone should be judged for, but it's not measurable. If someone on a canvas writes that all Americans should die,
yeah,
that canvas isn't immoral. That canvas is not hurting anyone, and there's no reason for the artist to be harmed or just like judged in any sort of legal sense. They're not doing anything wrong.
I somewhat disagree.
Okay. My original point was really that the canvas isn't doing anything wrong.
Sure. I think intent is important. But intent...
Oh no, it's super important. I think intent
I just
mean a piece of canvas with some paint on it as an object is not immoral, and it's not doing anything wrong.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I can agree with that. Especially let's take a more common. Fuck, why have I lost the word for a second here? Common example is like violent video games or violent music, right? That the artist is like, the intent is not to. Okay, so if that canvas, no, god damn, fucking jumping around. I'm trying to decide in which order these two sentences should go. But so in violent video games do not incite violence, because for the most part the intent is very clear, and same with violent music. Like, you could find violent music and violent video games where the person who made it is intending to aggravate you and to try and push you towards these things, but that most of the time it's very clear what the intent was. And a good example is Grand Theft Auto, because Grand Theft Auto always cops bullshit, always cops shit from people who say this is going to cause all our kids to be violent. However, if you actually at all paying attention to what it's doing, it's actually more closely related to satire. It's more like holding up a mirror to civilization and to saying this is kind of what you look like when you exaggerate it to these extremes.
Yeah.
So with that canvas, if the intent was very clear, as a kind of a shock value, I guess it would be kind of. I mean, I can think of ways that you could do it. Like if it was to show Americans
really awesome. Fuck.
Hang on. I'm gonna go.
You go. Yeah.
If it was to show Americans, like, let's take this to a fucking. This might be a bit extreme, but let's take it to where everyone's really scared of that America's going, because everyone keeps posting things saying like, "Look at what happened. This is how Germany turned into Nazi Germany." People are now relaying that to this is how America's going to turn into like a Nazi version of America, whatever they call themselves. You could use that canvas to kind of say, "Hey, imagine if you flip the tables. If instead of Americans saying let's kill all these people, they say let's kill all Americans," and then it kind of flips the table and puts some humility perhaps back onto them. But yeah, intent is extremely important in that sense, right? Because otherwise
you can't quantify intent, is what I'm saying. You can't like. If I was exhibiting my art and I was there standing next to it and explaining the process, explaining what I meant by it, that means the intent is there and understood. But if someone sees it in a Google Images search from the other side of the world, they don't know the intent, and they can't in any legitimate sense persecute me for that image, because they don't know what I was trying to do with it.
Yeah.
And as it stands, it is just pixels on a screen to them.
Yeah.
It's not functioning as actual harm.
Yeah.
And the reason that GDA even is allowed to exist is for that very reason. It's not actual harm.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, it actually relieves a part of a person's brain to be able to go up and then like shoot up a shopping mall or whatever in a video game. It's like, if I wanted to go do that, I can do that in this like simulated non-harmful environment. If I felt like everyone in America should die, paint it. And you've harmed no one, and you've actually just like expanded your artistic scope. And maybe you do like rub a few individuals the wrong way, but that's a part of what doing art is, I think.
I guess it just so this is where it ties back into what I was going to say about top tier comedians talking about them making jokes that are insensitive or whatever, and then saying, well, look, it's just a joke, and this is kind of a big part of what we do, is we just need to allow ourselves to just kind of to explore these ideas, to allow ourselves total freedom in order to again, as you kind of said, like work as an antenna for these ideas. And if I allow freedom, through my expression, I will stumble across gold.
Squicky stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. And those things catch controversy. However, then there's also a question of platform. And if you have a platform, if people are really listening to what you're saying, now, this is where I'm conflicted. This is why this is why I'm interested in this conversation, because this is where I'm conflicted, is allowing people to have freedom in what they're saying, and be able to take back things they've said, to be able to move forward and learn from things, and again to explore ideas verbally, especially with other people, so they can have back and forth, so they can learn. And then also the idea, though, that if you do have a platform, if people are listening to you as if you're making statements, should you be more careful about what you're saying? And I think there has to be some sort of middle ground there, because I don't think you can ignore the fact that certain people, especially as they get more and more famous and more influential, that's the word, is have a strong influence and strong impact on a lot of people, and what they say can actually have a very damaging effect without them meaning to. So I said, however, today I was talking to somebody about this kind of concept, and I just hit on the two words, criticize, don't crucify, and that's one thing that's kind of freaking me out, is when people fuck up, the internet loves at the moment to crucify people, to fucking take them to the cleaners, they're out, they're done. They take them as one. They take them. Their entire image of that individual transitions into that one image they had of them when they fucked up. So it erases everything they've ever done.
I think it's a religious belief. I think it's part of the whole judgment of God thing that they're inflating too much. Honestly, there is a judgment system, like a legal judgment system that is it's not illegal to be offensive, and people really need to be reminded of that. It's a personal belief that someone should answer to everything they say. And I know people who do feel that way because they've had to answer to what they said, and they've gone, okay, you know what, that's fair.
Yeah.
And so when they see someone else who's talking unfiltered, they feel like, you know what, that guy sucks. I get to hate that guy. I get to make him feel bad because the system I use for judgment has judged him worthy of hatred or worthy of judgment. I just don't like that, especially if it's a non-harmful thing like mouth sounds.
the mixtape thing,
No, I'm talking about just the literal.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Translation, that the noises coming from your mouth, and in one way, words are incredibly powerful, but in another way, they're absolutely nothing. They're just tiny little reverberations.
Yeah, totally.
I wouldn't blame myself if I did an for an hour. And some terrible thing in the world happened during that hour. I don't blame myself. It would be absurd to blame myself for that.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, I think then perhaps there just seems to be some confusion between, because we're all using different platforms, and maybe that's another thing is so a lot of controversy.
It's Twitter related.
Twitter related, podcast related, vlogs and things like that. We have a lot more avenues, and this is, again, it is all coming together. It's all being tied up this time. But as I said before about people being attracted to unfiltered content now, due to so much, almost all of their content being so scripted and produced and edited previous to the internet. However, now we're also kind of freaking out because we have all this unfiltered content and everyone's always on. Like every single thing you say, everything you think is out there in the world and you're being judged for it. However, no one's on their guard. No one's on their guard the entire time. No one is filtering themselves all of the time. And things like Twitter, things like podcasts, things like vlogs, things like blah, 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 blah. All those places are giving you a chance to just let your unfiltered thoughts come out, and it can be really, really difficult to constantly be watching what you say. And contrived platitudes come out. Platitudes are just like easily. Isn't it a small marsupial with a beak?
Nah, man.
Go.
Platitudes are they're just like easily dispensed niceties. Like if someone's trying to have a conversation about how this person's been really like mean or whatever, and someone just says, yeah, you should treat people the way that you want to be treated, and it's just like, yeah, sure, that doesn't really address the nuance of my situation. Or like, it doesn't provide any sort of outlet for the tension that I feel about this situation. People use words a lot of the time for their own personal catharsis, I think. Their ears want to hear something said. Yeah. And they're trying to say it, and it's in the realm of potential offensiveness.
I think, because I'm gonna kind of now point out that we've got a listener who is quite who gives a fair bit of feedback on the show. They actually reached out to me and spoke, and we had a good conversation. Actually, mostly it was just positive feedback about a previous episode. However, then they did mention one particular thing that they were offended by, or they found offensive. And
then Disney fired us.
And now we can't be hired by Disney. Yeah, that's an unfortunate thing. We can tie James Gunn into this soon. It got me thinking about this because, again, I want to do this. I want to be online. I want to be talking about heavy concepts, and I want to be making jokes. However, some shit slips through that I'm not totally on board with. So stuff I say, stuff I do, gets through that I'm not entirely happy with.
Yeah.
And at the time, I'm not paying attention well enough, or I'm just thinking differently at the time. And this is kind of this is what. So I think people just need to, online, as people also just need to relax a little bit and and not crucify people instantly. People need to be able to say, I fucked up. And I've seen memes about this recently, like people just admitting fault, and everyone's like, whoa, what the fuck? You admitted fault? That's insane to me. How you apologize? Did you say you did something wrong? I'm really excited now about. This is why I say, I think I said at the start, that like we want people to comment. We want people, if people disagree, we want them to comment. Because that's the only way we're learning these things. That's the only way we're getting better. I mean, certain things I just shouldn't have said in the first place. Certain things just shouldn't come out. And if they do, deserves an apology. If I do it again, that's even worse. And that's the thing. If I keep making the same mistakes, that's a bit. Especially if I disagree with them. Then I'm not learning anything. However, if I fuck up and I learn, and I apologize, and I learn, and I move forward, then I'm only going to get better every single time, and that's the most exciting thing to me at the moment.
What's the thing that you're apologizing for, though? And I don't mean you should say exactly what you would apologize for, but what I'm trying to say is, in what case is it your belief that you're apologizing for, or is it actually having said the thing? Because, see, I think if we don't want to defend something we've said, that's a different thing to I apologize for speaking so freely on that subject. What's the thing you're apologizing for? Is it for thinking that way? Is it for saying a thing? Or is it for just the general insensitivity? Or is it to a specific individual for offending them specifically? Or like what?
There's a certain level of insensitivity, or rather, so it's not so much like I'm apologizing for belief, because I'm not saying that, because I don't think I would have said something. It's not like my beliefs have changed and I'm apologizing for previous beliefs. It's rather This is why it's difficult. This is why we're talking about this, and I don't even know what I think about it. I don't know how I feel about all this.
So recently I have apologized for something.
Yeah.
And it would be stupid of me to actually say what the thing was, because it would negate the apology in the first place. But a close friend of mine, somewhat close, I was like talking about, it was an end of the night. We were all drunk. Mm-hmm. Everyone else had gone to bed except for a very select few of people.
Yeah.
And I started talking about my memory of this particular person from school. Mm-hmm. And it had topics that were sensitive to them.
Yeah.
And they started becoming quite passive aggressive towards me from that point onwards. Mm-hmm. And first of all, they didn't tell me that I'd offended them.
Yeah.
They just got really mean towards me. What I was doing wrong was I wasn't caring enough for how they would feel about what I said. And that I can admit to.
Yeah.
There are times when I'm doing that deliberately, touching on something that is sensitive, but playing with it like a toy.
Yeah.
And that is actually at the heart of what a lot of comedy is. So in some ways, I don't want to not do that. However, when it's someone's personal history that's not mine to be playing with, that's when all I'm achieving is upsetting someone, and that's not what I want to do, and that's not what I think comedy is. Right. And I think I slightly mentioned that when we were talking about the function of a rape joke, essentially.
Yeah.
If you are just upsetting someone who you're meant to be helping relieve tension for, then you've failed to do what comedy is for.
Yeah. Okay. I like that, and I think that's my issue. Is that I have been insensitive. I don't mind being offensive or insensitive if I have a clear purpose in mind for it. However, if I'm just insensitive because I was careless, or if I just didn't care, I don't condone that behavior in myself or anyone else, and I'm not going to I don't want to let myself get away with that, because that's not fair to other people. It's just it serves no purpose then to offend. And if it's just hurting people, then it doesn't achieve anything positive. If that comes out in exploration, or if that comes out in just spewing shit, then again that deserves perhaps an apology, because that can also help people just like, oh, okay, yeah, your intent has been made clear. But if that just becomes like a casual thing to me, to just like, blah, 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 oh, sorry, were you offended? Oh, I apologize for that. Then that's just like, it's just not, it's just careless, and it's not pleasant for anyone.
I think I would like to retain the ability to there is a function of comedy within So you know Sacha Baron Cohen's new show?
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of people in America who deserve to be offended because they are offensive people.
Yeah.
They deserve it.
He's got a point. He's going and making a point, though, right?
Yes, and no. Because he certainly doesn't care if they learn it. He's using them as a tool.
Yes, true.
So, like, if you're offending 50% of the population, maybe that's a good thing. If there's that many people who are offended by what you're saying, who would prefer that no one talk about it ever, then perhaps it should be talked about, and perhaps not talking about it is part of the issue.
Yeah.
That is how I feel. It's in the case of it being someone's particular personal history, it is a personal slight.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. If it's an indirect thing, if I'm saying just the concept of let's see, I want to bring up something offensive, but not just for the point of upsetting someone. What's a particular topic that's sensitive?
Here's one that's sensitive but openly kind of allowed for some reason. Like a good one is people in power, because you can get away with being offensive to people in power a lot easier. So one that's really easy is the Christian faith or Christian church.
Right.
That's openly criticized and openly mocked in our society. So
there was a time period where they would really not allow that, like blasphemy. It would be punished. Yeah. Quite harshly. There's a very good reason why that is not okay. Yeah. And there's a very good reason why freedom of speech is something that's protected, at least in America, not necessarily in Australia. And I'm not using freedom of speech as a cop out again, as an excuse or a cop out. Yeah. It is where the tension lies that the comedy most generally comes from. And I'm sorry if personally that's a very tense subject for you, and I'm only sorry because you aren't able to laugh at it yet. That's how I feel. Yeah. Eventually, I feel like the end goal should be that you are able to laugh at the hardships that you've encountered or gone through.
I'm sure most people will and do towards the end of grieving or whatever. I think it's just not up to... you do have to be careful, and you have to know what you're... Not know what you're doing, I guess. You just have to be... You have to be...
I still don't agree with being careful. I think it's easy to know when you're personally offending someone. Yeah. Or, being too personal. Just because it's a sensitive subject for them, a general subject, even something dumb, if I made a joke about missing a flight, and then someone said, well, I missed my flight once, and I never got to say goodbye to my mother. Jesus, yeah. If that happens, it's just really not my fault that they had that experience. Of course. And the idea that I should imagine a situation in which someone in the room is going to be offended by just that topic alone, the idea that I should be conscious of that, the chance that a joke about missing a flight is going to upset someone is my personal responsibility. Well, what is left over? Can I just imagine that no one's offended by a banana? Or has someone been choked by a banana and they died?
I guess
maybe that's how the person's mother died, was choking on a banana because they didn't catch their flight in time.
Yeah. There's just got to be certain...
What the hell do I do?
There's certain... there's obviously just certain topics that are going to be more...
intrinsically sad, yes.
Yeah, and deserve, I think, a bit more care and respect while moving around.
See, I can agree with all that. and it's not even a personal freedom thing. I just think the idea of being too careful with comedy. I mean, it just negates the purpose of comedy. I really do feel like that.
All right. Well, here's my kind of, I guess, a kind of a wrap up to it. I guess is, especially in this new world that we found ourselves in of unfiltered content. We need to be mindful of. Well, I don't want to use anything for a cop out. I don't want to use freedom of speech, and I don't want to use like, oh, I'm just trying to get a reaction as a cop out for being overtly offensive for no reason, or to hurt people for no reason.
You don't want to say too bad, lol.
Yeah. None of that shit, because that really pisses me off, and you see that a lot in like 4chan the alt-right and right-wing side.
4chan prides itself on being offensive.
Yeah,
so
they just love just going like, "Oops, sorry, lol." If you just don't get the humor of 4chan. You just can't deal with this kind of level of offensiveness. It's like potentially you're spreading hate.
To some degree, it's true.
There's so much you can't be that dismissive of other people. Especially if you've got a platform, especially if you're putting this stuff out into the world. However,
especially since emotion is an important thing to care about. But go on.
Just the one thing is I want to see people ready to hear people's explanations first. So if somebody says something online, if somebody says something that people don't get, or they find offensive, like listen to the intent. Allow people to apologize. Allow people to either stand by what they say. If they stand by what they say, then for sure, fucking take them out. Not take them out, but like then you can react how you wish to react. But if they go like, oh fuck, no, sorry, that was a slip of words, or I didn't mean it like that, or this is how I meant it. Then we need to kind of respect. People just aren't that good with their words. This is a good example. I'm not preparing this speech. I'm not fucking preparing myself to say what I'm meaning here. I'm just venting my frustrations and kind of going off what's been on my mind lately.
Yeah. To future employers, we may not still feel this way, and we may have even gone in a direction that's incredibly sensitive to offense. But as we are right now, as young people and artists who are just wanting to make people laugh, then
and think
we're probably going to confront you in some ways. That's it. That's how I feel.
And pull us up, especially at least I can speak for myself. Pull me up, because I want conversation. If I say something that I might not mean to be offensive, but then is to some, I want to know, because then I can make the judgment like, fuck, sorry, I shouldn't have said something like that. I wasn't aware that I was doing that, and I apologize. Or I can stand by it and I say, fuck you. No, I'm standing by being offensive in that situation, because you need to be offended for that. Whatever situation comes up. I don't know what we're talking about here, but that's...
I ate a banana the other day. Look, dude, I really didn't like it when you said banana.
Reminds me of
the time. It reminds me of when I missed my flight, and then I was unable to stop my mum from choking on a banana. So don't say banana anymore, please.
If people are if people are being that dramatic about anything, just then anyway.
Well, hell, I mean, like
this fucking episode. This is gonna cop it. This is gonna cop some shit.
I can tell we don't fully agree, but I think that's okay.
Yeah.
If you're the straight man and I'm the wacky man, that may be the dynamic that's coming out of this.
Yeah. You've said numerous times to me that you kind of enjoy being like the clown at parties and things like that. Like you like.
Yeah,
that
I've definitely copped
freedom.
it.
Yeah, I've seen you cop all kinds of shit because of shit that's coming out of your mouth. I don't know. I'm just kind of in this process of figuring out where I stand on a lot of things, and I'm changing a lot in my social views and my political views, and I think I want to be honest and open about them all, and I think I want to be honest and open in how I learn and how I shift. And I know, like, online, that's fucking asking for it. That's asking to, if you don't make a stance, then both sides can take you out. Both sides can be angry at you.
Well, I want to transcend that dichotomy entirely and just say, look, if I want to, like, for your personal satisfaction, I will explain to you in the comments. I will either defend my comment or not deny it, sorry, or say that I disagree, and then I'll give that to you if that's what you need. However, for everyone else who's out there to offend themselves, who's out there looking for content that is offensive because then they get to feel like they've judged someone, well, you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Like, because this is what you want. You want to be confronted because you find it fun.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's actually a really good point as well, is that not only do we live in this age of unfiltered content, but people are fucking in love with being offended and pissed off at people. They love...
Why do you think Fox News does so well?
Yeah.
There's some itch that gets scratched when they turn on the TV and their town is on fire and everyone's being shot by guns.
Because it's black and white, because everything's nice and simple, because it's like, well, if somebody's the bad guy, then you're the good guy. If you can point at someone and say that's the bad guy, then that means you're on the right side.
Yep.
And I think that plays super heavily into the online culture that we live in, and the fake news culture, and this dramatic, reactive culture that we live in, and everyone's just looking for the bad guy because it means they're the good guy. No one's good. No one's evil. No one's bad. No one's pure, though. No one's good. I think everyone has a little bit of both in them. Everyone's fucking up all the time. Everyone's trying to do their best. Needs to be punishment.
Some people could try harder. Some people could definitely try harder.
Absolutely. There needs to be punishment. And this is why we have a justice system. It just doesn't work all the time, and we need to constantly work at making that better. But I don't think anything's as black and white as people like it to be. But
sometimes shit is just squicky. It's not good or bad. It's just fucking repulsive. It's like someone shitting in the street in India. Like you can't walk up to that person and go, look, dude, that's fucking disgusting, because it's okay. I'm not like mocking India, but it is okay to shit in the street in India. It is.
Okay.
In certain parts, there's just no toilets at all, so it's repulsive, but you don't, like, God is definitely not going to smite them, especially their religious gods.
Someone fact check that and post in the comments.
people shit in the street all the time in India. That's a fact. They also wipe with their hand most of the time. It's a cultural thing. Are you fact checking?
Yeah, I'm just fact checking something.
Do people shit in the street in India?
All right. Is there any better place to end than that?
People shit in the street. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So if you're privy to the James Gunn situation, personally, I think it's abhorrent to judge someone for their past and bar them from redeeming themselves, especially if they're already living a better life. And secondly, I think you should all go check out the movie Super, which was made by him back in his offensive days, and it's a very good movie about morality. And it is quite offensive, and it's shocking and brilliant.
I was going to wrap it up, but actually I kind of do want to touch on this.
Yeah, sure.
That's an interesting
movie's called Super.
It's an interesting situation because James Gunn is playing with the big boys. Let's call it. He's in the corporate land. You know, he's dealing with big fucking dollars because he's with Disney and stuff like that, or was rather.
Yeah.
And that's. But it just plays into this narrative of like, this he said something bad years ago, and now he's fired. Give people a chance to take it back, or give people a chance to talk about how they've changed. I don't know. There's a weird grey area where, again, I don't want people to just be able to do what the fuck they want and then be like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. I don't want cop-outs available, but I don't want this. Just an example I've got now though is one creator I really like is Philip DeFranco, but he's on YouTube and he's kind of built his own thing, and so he's got all of his original content up, and some of it's offensive, some of it, like, if he was working for a news channel, he wouldn't be able to have that kind of stuff still up, because he would be fired. But because it's his own thing, he's managed to stay up and relevant and doesn't get crucified for it. And when but in these corporate settings, you do. So I don't actually really have an answer for that, but it kind of plays into what we were talking about before. I just don't know how. I want people to be able to apologize. That's on both sides. I want people to be able to apologize, and a lot of people can't. People are really bad at admitting fault, but also people are really bad at hearing apologies, it seems. And I want that to change a bit. Anyway.
Here we go. From Quora.com. Do people actually still poop in the streets of India? If so, is it a huge public health issue? Here's answer number 1. Of course it is illegal, but that means nothing in India. Pooping and peeing on the highway, in back streets, in any clump of trees happens all the time, all over the country. Taxi drivers do it. High class policemen, attorneys, college principals. It's regarded as a normal male function, and nobody raises an eyebrow. Their God doesn't judge them. I mean, of course, actually, there's so many gods, and there is no just God in India. Unless there are Christians in India, which there probably definitely are.
Yeah, of course.
But the Hindu faith is many, many gods, and I imagine they don't look too poorly on that kind of thing at all.
Well, I'm not gonna necessarily. I don't know anything about their religions or anything, but I'm just gonna go straight. It just seems
like
that it's
religions.
a lack of.
I really like them.
Yes, I just don't know anything about it. It just seems a lack of infrastructure.
I'm looking up Indian poop gods.
Do we want to wrap it up here? Seems like a good place.
Yeah.
Cool. This has been Coprolalia. Like, comment, subscribe. Definitely comment. Correct us. Pull us up. Tell us if you're offended. And because I want the conversation. That's what this is about. I want a conversation while we're talking about this kind of shit, because I'm just figuring shit out at the moment. And I'm pretty happy to have that public.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to get hired by Disney.
Thank you to the commenter who spawned this discussion.
Yeah.
And I do respect what you had to say about what we said, because it was indefensible as just silliness.
Yeah.
I don't really believe that shit.
Yeah. And please, definitely, you, especially original commenter, feel free to chime in on this again, because I'd like this conversation to be ongoing. Oh yeah, Patreon. Everyone should give us money on Patreon. Yeah, alright, bye-bye.